The waiters kept refilling his wine glass like he was royalty. My mom laughed at every one of his jokes like she was auditioning for a sitcom laugh track. And my dad, who hadn't shown up to one of my school events since middle school, actually said the words, "I'm just so proud of you, son." Not to me. To Jason. And I was sitting right there. Same table. Same airspace. Allegedly the guest of honor, judging by the tiny blackboard sign that said, "Happy 29th, Eli," in fading gold chalk like an afterthought. But I smiled. Ate my $48 dry-aged filet like it wasn't seasoned with silent resentment. Said congrats. When they toasted Jason's new job as regional marketing director like it didn't land like a punch to the ribs. Let me rewind. I'm Eli Collins. Average height, above average sarcasm, professional background in surviving family dinners with my dignity intact. I grew up in the shadow of a golden boy, my older brother Jason, who, since birth, has been treated like the heir to a family throne that doesn't actually exist. In our house, Jason's C+ in algebra was a growth moment. My A was expected. When Jason broke a window with a baseball? He's got such a strong arm. When I broke a lamp accidentally vacuuming? How careless can you be, Eli? He got a car on his 17th birthday. I got a used bike with 2 gears and a flat tire. His entrepreneurial, high school weed-selling phase? A learning experience. My part-time cashier job? A waste of your real potential. But sure, I'm not bitter. I went to a state college while Jason attended some private school with a Latin motto. He graduated with a communications degree and connections. I graduated with a business degree and 2 part-time jobs. He got Dad's Rolodex. I got Dad's LinkedIn request, 6 years later. Still, I kept my head down. Built quietly. No handouts. No shortcuts. Just spreadsheets, small clients, and sleepless nights. I started a logistics and fulfillment company from my apartment, while working security gigs on the side. I wasn't flashy. Wasn't loud. I was just determined. But none of that mattered at the dinner. Because that night, while they were raising glasses to Jason and his massive step up in the corporate world, no one even mentioned it was my birthday until the waitress brought out a slice of cheesecake with a candle in it. She looked embarrassed. I think she knew. Jason clinked his fork against a wineglass. "Quick toast," he said, standing. Mom clutched her pearls like someone had proposed. "To new beginnings." Jason grinned. "Regional director, baby!" Everyone clapped. Except me. I was busy watching the reflection of the candle in my untouched dessert. It wasn't just about Jason. Not really. It was about how invisible I always felt when I was with them. My mom caught my eye after the toast. "You okay, sweetheart?" she whispered, like she noticed the silence too late. "Yeah," I smiled. "Just taking it all in." And I did. Every word. Every fake cheer. Every glossed-over moment. Because something in me shifted that night. Not out of revenge. But out of clarity. I realized they would never see me, not unless I built something they couldn't ignore. So I took the check that night. Quietly. Paid for the dinner. Didn't even split it. My name wasn't in their toast. But it would be in the headlines soon enough. After the birthday dinner, I didn't rage. Didn't slam a door. Didn't fire off a passive-aggressive group text about how I wasn't even mentioned. Instead, I got home, took off my button-down, microwaved the cheesecake, because dignity still deserves dessert, and opened my laptop. That night, while my brother posted a boomerang of his wine glass clink with the caption #blessed #promotion vibes, I was in a Google Doc, outlining a new operations model that could finally scale my company beyond 2 cities. You know what's funny? I've always worked like that, quietly. Not for applause. Just to prove I could. As a kid, I was the kind who took apart old radios from garage sales just to see if I could fix them. I wasn't loud about it. No science fair medals. Just me, tools, and the thrill of making something work. In high school, while Jason was starring in school plays and winning fake trophies for Most likely to lead. I was selling refurbished headphones out of my locker. $10 markup. Clean packaging. Repeat customers. One teacher told me, "You've got a head for business." My parents told me, "Focus on your real classes." In college, I'd built a basic inventory app for a friend's vintage store. She cried when it saved her hours of manual entry. My family? Wait, you're still working with clothes? I was always the nice one, the quiet one, the techie one. Never the impressive one. Even at family gatherings, I'd get stuck at the corner of the table. You know, the weird L section next to the cousins who still eat mashed potatoes with their hands, while Jason held court with his "I just crushed Q3" speeches. So when I say I started my logistics and fulfillment business from my apartment, I don't mean I got a startup loan or flashy investment. I mean, I bought secondhand shelving from a store that went out of business. Stored soaps, socks, and skincare jars in my hallway closet. Shipped orders by hand using USPS labels I printed at 2 a.m. It was called Anchor-Link Logistics, because while everyone assumed I was drifting through life, I was anchoring something real. January, we landed a contract with a rising health food brand. February, I onboarded 2 part-time employees. March, we moved into a shared warehouse in the industrial district. The lights flickered, and the heater coughed more than it worked, but it was a place with our name on the lease. Still, no calls. No texts from my parents asking how things were going. Jason posted a selfie from Cabo with some guy named Trent from corporate. My mom sent it to the group chat with R* glowing star. I replied with a thumbs up while juggling inventory counts and late vendor payments. But I didn't stop. Because April changed everything. We signed a 6-figure client, a sleek home goods brand in California. I pitched them from a cracked iPhone stand at a corner table in a cafe that spelled my name, Ellie, on the receipt. They signed. Paid the deposit same day. I just stared at the screen, blinking. No champagne. No announcement. Just a quiet fist clench and back to work. That week, I hired full-time staff. Got proper insurance. Leased actual pallet racks instead of the plastic kind that buckle under pressure. And most importantly, I booked a venue. Not for a party. Not yet. For a company gala, our first ever. A thank you to my scrappy team, our growing partners, and the dream that started in a studio apartment next to a leaking radiator. The location? The same upscale steakhouse where my family toasted Jason while forgetting it was my birthday. It was available. I laughed out loud when I saw the date. The owner remembered me, too. "Oh yeah," he said on the phone. "You were at that family dinner, right? Quiet guy at the end?" "That's me," I said. "You paid the whole bill that night." "I did." "Same guest list this time?" I smiled. "Not exactly." And somewhere in the back of my mind I wondered, would they notice this one? Even if they weren't invited? Planning a gala sounds glamorous, until you're arguing with a vendor about why $900 for chair covers sounds more like a hostage demand than a rental price. But I was weirdly into it. This wasn't a flex. It wasn't revenge. It was just a declaration. A thank you to the people who helped me build something from scratch, who saw me, even when my own family didn't. We'd grown fast. From 2 part-timers to 6 full-time employees. From my apartment to a warehouse with our names stenciled on the door. From duct-taped shipping boxes to polished workflows and brands that actually trusted us. So yeah, the moment felt big. I reserved the private room at the same steakhouse, the one where my birthday was hijacked by Jason's promotion. It wasn't planned as a symbolic move, but once I saw the name on the venue calendar, I couldn't not book it. The coordinator recognized me. "Oh yeah," she said, scanning her notes. "You were the one who paid the check that night, right? Birthday, but everyone was talking about your brother's new job?" "Yup," I said. "Same room. Just different energy this time." The invitations were digital, clean, minimalist. Our logo. A quote about perseverance. No guest of honor, just a list of names that deserved to be there. I stared at the draft for too long. There was a moment, just a flicker, where I hovered over my parents' emails. My fingers rested on the keyboard like they were waiting for permission. But the feeling passed. I deleted the field and hit send. As we got closer to the date, the buzz started growing. Clients were excited. Vendors were asking if they could bring plus ones. My warehouse manager, the guy who used to joke that we were just fancy mailmen, ordered a custom blazer. It felt like momentum. And yet, it was surreal. Because just a year earlier, I was at this same place eating overcooked steak while watching my family toast to Jason as if I didn't exist. I thought about that night. About how, when Jason finished his speech, Dad clapped like he was announcing the second coming. About how Mom wiped a tear and whispered, "You've always been destined for greatness." To him. Not to me. I remembered the way they all took pictures with him after, even asked the waitress to take a group shot. No one asked me to join. I ended up standing by the bar, pretending to answer emails. So no, this gala wasn't a revenge tour. It was closure. I didn't need their approval anymore. But families? They sniff out relevance like bloodhounds. 2 weeks before the event, my cousin Emily texted. "Wait, are you the Eli behind AnchorLink? Jason said something about a gala?" I blinked at the message. Jason mentioned me? Apparently, he'd seen a LinkedIn post. One of his college buddies worked for a retail startup that partnered with us. Jason saw the brand shout us out and went, "Wait, that's my brother's thing?" Soon after, my family chat started buzzing in strange ways. My aunt texted, "So proud of you!" out of nowhere. We hadn't spoken since 2018. My mom commented, "Love this," on a random graphic I posted that said, "Shipping delays are a mindset." Jason sent a thumbs up. Just thumbs up. No words. No context. A digital cough. I didn't reply. Then came the kicker. My dad called. We hadn't spoken in months, maybe more. He always treated me like the polite background character in a sitcom he was too busy to watch. I didn't pick up. He left a voicemail. "Hey bud, just wanted to check in. Heard something about an event? Thought maybe we could grab coffee sometime. Would love to catch up." The voice was nervous. Hopeful. Like someone who just realized the person they forgot to applaud had gone, and built a stage. I didn't respond. But I saved the message. Something told me it wouldn't be the last time they reached out. And when they did, they wouldn't be walking through the front doors. They'd be standing behind glass. Looking in. The night of the gala, I showed up an hour early, partly to make sure everything was perfect, mostly because I didn't trust myself not to spiral if I had downtime. The restaurant looked completely different now. Dark wood polished to a gleam, warm ember lights glowing like it was a movie set. Tables dressed in matte black, silverware aligned like soldiers, menus embossed with AnchorLink logistics in clean serif font. A far cry from last year's family dinner, where I sat at this exact table and watched everyone raise a glass to my brother while my cheesecake melted under a candle no one lit. Now, I was the one being toasted, even if I hadn't written the speech yet. I exhaled. Checked my reflection in the window. Straightened my tie. Tonight wasn't about revenge. It was about recognition, not from them, but from myself. From the people who saw the late nights, the duct-taped shelves, the stubborn will that held the business together when the money didn't. The first guests arrived at 6:45 p.m. Vendors. Clients. A few industry friends who used to ignore my emails and now RSVP'd with, "Can I bring someone?" One woman, the operations lead from a big tech supply chain firm, walked in, scanned the space, and muttered, "Wow. You guys did this?" We did. My team showed up glowing. Button-downs pressed, shoes shined, like this was their red carpet. It kind of was. The energy buzzed, not loud, but warm. Grounded. We weren't flashy. We were the company people underestimated, until we delivered. At 7:15 p.m., the photographer asked for a group shot. I stood in the center, flanked by people who'd believed in this scrappy dream of mine before it was cool. Someone raised a toast. Someone else clinked to glass. The jazz trio in the corner played misty like it was composed for us. Then it happened. I turned toward the front windows, the ones facing the sidewalk and the soft-lit patio hedge line, and there they were. My family. Just standing outside. Mom. Dad. Jason. Not inside. Not in line. Not holding coats or flowers or even questions. Just watching. They weren't dressed for a formal event. Jason wore rolled-up sleeves and loafers with no socks. My mom held her purse like a shield. My dad had his hands in his pockets like a man who walked into a situation 3 beats too late. For a second, I wondered if I was hallucinating. But then Mom stepped closer to the glass. Jason shifted awkwardly. Dad muttered something I couldn't hear. His mouth barely moved. They didn't knock. Didn't wave. Didn't try to come in. They stood there like museum visitors peeking in at a world they never expected me to be a part of, and definitely didn't build. And I didn't move. Didn't smile. Didn't even blink. Instead, I turned back to the room. Lifted a champagne glass. Tapped it with a fork, gently, once, twice. The jazz stopped. Conversations fell into silence. Every face turned toward me. I cleared my throat. My hand trembled slightly, but I gripped the stem tighter. I looked down at the paper I hadn't written. Then looked up. The speech wasn't for them. It was for everyone else. The ones in the room. I didn't plan on giving a speech. I had bullet points scribbled on the back of a napkin. Stuff like, thank the team. Shout out warehouse crew. Tell the shrimp story. But when I looked up and saw a room full of people who helped build this thing with me, people who saw me when my own family didn't, the words came on their own. I cleared my throat and spoke. First of all, thank you all for showing up. That alone makes this night better than my last birthday dinner. A ripple of laughter moved through the room. A few people glanced around, unsure if they were supposed to laugh. Someone near the back said, "Oh no, he didn't," under their breath. "I'm kidding. Kind of." More laughter now, that warm kind. Real. When I started AnchorLink, I didn't have a business degree. I didn't have investors. Heck, I didn't even have proper shelving. I was literally packing boxes next to my radiator, fighting off a silverfish infestation and wondering if anyone would ever care what I was building. Some chuckles. Some wide eyes. I looked over at Tasha, one of our first clients. She nodded like, yep, I remember the early label mishaps. I didn't build this company to prove anything. I built it because I got tired of asking for a seat at the table. So I built my own. The room went still. Not dramatic, just thoughtful. I let the pause hang, and for half a second, I looked toward the window. They were still there. My mom, standing with her arms crossed tightly. Jason, hands in his pockets, shifting from one foot to the other. My dad staring through the glass like the reflection didn't include him anymore. But I stayed with the speech. This team, the one in this room, is the reason we're here. I've watched you reroute 200 orders during a snowstorm, hack together a barcode system in a weekend, and solve problems I didn't even know we had. You've made logistics look like magic. I smiled at Danny, our ops manager, who mock curtsied from the corner. And when things were rough, when we were one invoice away from collapse, you stayed. That kind of loyalty doesn't come from salaries or fancy job titles. It comes from shared belief. From grit. From way too much bad coffee. The room chuckled again, louder this time. I used to think success looked like what I saw growing up: suits, titles, parties with long speeches and champagne. There was a flicker of something behind the glass. Jason turned away slightly. But now I know. It looks like all of you. It looks like calluses and spreadsheets, like fixing printers at 2 a.m. and laughing when the Wi-Fi cuts out during a client pitch. I took a breath. Held my glass higher. So here's to the people who didn't just believe in the dream, they carried it. You made this real. And if you've ever felt unseen or underestimated, keep building. Keep showing up. Eventually, someone will notice. Another pause. Another look at the window. They hadn't left. But this time, it didn't sting. It didn't feel like longing or regret. It just felt settled. To us. The toast echoed back at me. To us. Applause erupted. Real applause. No forced smiles. No polite claps. The kind that fills your chest and makes your ears ring for a second. Someone whistled. Someone else shouted. Hell yeah! Even the jazz trio stopped playing and clapped. I stepped down from the platform and handed the mic off to Danny. The room melted back into movement, laughter, drinks, hugs, conversations. But for a moment I stood still. Because as loud as the applause was inside, outside, there was only silence. They hadn't moved. They didn't wave. Didn't call out. Didn't try to come in. They just stood there, watching something they never built, never supported, and never believed could exist without them. And this time? I didn't flinch. Didn't fold. Didn't even nod. I simply turned and walked toward the back patio. And I let them feel the glass. The morning after the gala, I expected silence. And for the first few hours I got it. No texts. No. We're proud of you. No. Let's talk. Not that I needed it. But a part of me, the version of me that used to wait by the phone after school concerts, still noticed the quiet. At 12:43 p.m., the silence cracked. Mom, the event looked beautiful. We're proud of you. Can we talk soon? I reread it twice. Proud? This woman once told me that learning how to run a business from YouTube made me unhireable. Now she's proud? At 12:47 p.m. Dad, we didn't want to intrude. Just wanted to be there for your big moment. Ah yes, because lurking behind a glass wall like you're casing a jewelry store isn't intruding. Then 1:01 p.m. Jason, didn't realize how big your company's gotten. Good work, man. No punctuation. No apology. Just the emotional equivalent of a thumbs up from across the void. I didn't reply. But I screenshotted the texts and sent them to Danny with one caption. Apparently the gala had some surprise attendees. She replied with 3 cry laugh emojis and, do we send them leftover shrimp skewers or nah? They didn't stop. 2 days later, I was in a meeting when my phone buzzed again. Mom, maybe we could do lunch? Just you and me. I promise, no speeches this time, smiley face. That, this time, carried so much weight, I had to set my phone down and walk away. Back then, she gave Jason a full monologue at my birthday dinner. I got, what? A candle? Can you cover the bill, sweetie? Now she wants lunch. Dad, I know we haven't always understood what you were building, but we're trying now. I read that 3 times. Not. Sorry. Not. We messed up. Just. We're trying. Trying what? The new guilt flavor of the month? Jason. I told them not to show up, man. They dragged me along. You crushed it, though. I almost laughed. This was the same guy who once made a speech template for work functions and sent it to me with a note. You'll probably never need this, LOL. Now suddenly he's my biggest cheerleader? No thanks. The truth is, I wasn't angry. Not anymore. I was just done. Done carrying the itch to be seen. Done trying to force recognition from people whose version of love was conditional and quarterly at best. That's what they never get. They think if they show up late, the applause will still be waiting. They think if they say, we're trying, it wipes the slate clean. But sometimes, you just stop playing. A week after the gala, I got an email. Subject: family dinner? It was from Mom. She'd CC'd Dad. And Jason. No message. Just a Google Calendar invite for 7 p.m. at a mid-range bistro downtown. I remembered the place. They once threw a whole party for Jason there, champagne, chocolate cake, framed photos, even a slideshow. I found out about it through an Instagram story. They forgot to block me that time. I stared at the invite for a long time. Then I clicked. Decline. No note. No explanation. Just a quiet, full stop. That night, I had dinner at my place. The table was mismatched, a couple chairs from IKEA, two from a garage sale. The plates didn't match. There was a water stain on the table from someone's Red Bull can. But the people? Perfect. My team. A few close friends. One of our warehouse guys brought his girlfriend, who ended up roasting me for mixing up overnight and 2 days shipping again. Laughter echoed. Tasha told the story about the label printer from year one. Danny brought a bottle of wine labeled, "For the CEO who actually delivers." At one point, someone proposed a toast. To Eli. Someone started. But I held up a hand. Nah. To all of us. And just like that, the glasses clinked. The room hummed. And there wasn't a single person outside the window trying to get in. It had been 2 weeks since the gala. No more texts from Jason. No more soft-pitched, "Hope you're well," from Mom. The silence was back, but this time, it didn't feel cold. It felt earned. Then she called. Not texted. Not emailed. Not even a voice memo like she'd started sending during quarantine. An actual phone call. I let it ring once, twice. Then picked up. Curiosity won. "Hi, sweetheart," she said in that tone people use when they're about to ask if you can help them move a couch. "How are you? How's the company? Warehouse? All that going okay?" "Doing fine," I said flat. She gave a small laugh like she didn't quite believe it. "Well, I'm glad. Really, I am. And listen, this isn't a big thing, just, we were wondering about something. Here we go." She took a breath, like she'd just gotten her cue. "Jason's been going through a rough patch lately. His department's doing some restructuring. You know how these companies are. No loyalty, even after everything he's done for them." I leaned back in my chair and stared at the wall. I knew exactly how those companies were. Especially when they promoted charisma over competence for years. He's just feeling really lost. And we thought, maybe, if there was a spot at your company. Even just something small? Until he gets back on his feet. There it was. Not, "He's sorry." Not, "We mishandled things." Just the age-old family language, "He needs something, what can you do?" I stayed quiet for a beat too long, because she added quickly. "Obviously it's your decision. We just thought, it could be nice. For both of you." I said, "I'll think about it." Which, in mom speak, translated to, "He's considering it." Praise be. But in Eli speak? It meant, "Not a chance." That night, I found an old group chat screenshot, the one from a few years back when Jason said, "Eli's got his little business, lol. Let's hope he doesn't accidentally ship himself in a box." Everyone had reacted with a laughing emoji. Everyone, except me. Back then, I'd stared at it for an hour, debating if I should defend myself or just leave the chat. Now, I was writing his rejection letter. Subject, Employment Inquiry. To Jason. CC Mom, Dad. Hi Jason. Thanks for reaching out via Mom. I've reviewed our current staffing needs, and unfortunately there aren't any open roles that would be a fit. Best of luck with everything going forward. Sincerely, Eli. CEO, Anchorlink Logistics. No flourish. No salt. No second chance. Just facts. Just closure. An hour later, Jason texted. Jason. Wow. Cold. No punctuation. Just those 3 words. I stared at the screen. This from the guy who once told me I'd probably be a great assistant manager someday, somewhere. This from the brother who made a toast at my birthday dinner and didn't even mention I was in the room. Now I was cold? No. I was clear. There's a difference. That weekend, I had to drive past my parents' house. It wasn't planned. I was heading to a client meeting on the other side of town, and the highway detoured through my old neighborhood. Same cracked driveway. Same faded welcome mat. For a second, I slowed, not to stop, just to see. Mom was outside watering the hedge. Dad sat on the porch looking at his phone. Jason's car was in the driveway, the one they helped him buy when he needed mobility for his career. I drove past without waving. I didn't even make eye contact. But I did glance in the rearview. And for the first time in years, there was no ache. No tightness in my throat. No voice whispering, "Maybe if you gave them one more chance." There was just peace. They could call it cold. They could call it pride. But I called it finally being done begging people to see me, when I'd already built a life full of people who did. A month later, I got invited to another event. This time, not mine. The same venue. Same room. Same tables. But this one was a corporate networking night for local business owners, hosted by the Chamber of Commerce. Anchorlink was now a key sponsor. Funny how things turn. I arrived a little late, no speech this time, no cameras. Just a handshake, a seat, and a little name tag that read, Eli Walters, CO. I was halfway through a plate of grilled asparagus when I noticed a couple walk past the windows outside. They were peering in. Curious. Hesitant. It was my mom and dad. Jason wasn't with them. I don't know if they meant to be seen this time. They weren't waving. They weren't smiling. Just standing behind the glass again, like they didn't know how to come in, or if they were even welcome. And I didn't stand. I didn't wave. I didn't nod. I simply reached into my jacket pocket, pulled out a small envelope, and handed it to one of the event coordinators. Inside was a donation check, enough to sponsor 5 new local business grants under Anchorlink's name. "Want me to announce it?" she asked, eyes wide. I smiled. "No. Just post the winners later." Then I raised my glass toward the window, just high enough. Not a toast. Not an invite. Just a subtle signal. And then I turned away. Because some stories don't need a reunion. Some just need a better ending.